For most people, yesterday didn't feel loud or dramatic, and it also didn't feel like one of those breakthrough moments either. But it did feel like a certainty was rising, like something finally became undeniable that you'd been half aware of for a while now. So if you're trying to make sense of what's been happening, by the end of this, you'll be able to name your experience and have a very specific way of standing inside where it's left you today, because there's a very specific structure behind it. Here's what's interesting about days like yesterday. They don't arrive with intensity, they arrive with clarity. Not the kind of clarity that spells out what to do next, but the kind that makes it impossible to keep pretending something isn't true anymore. You may have seen this showing up as less tolerance for things that used to feel manageable, or a quieter internal environment with less noise and more signal, or just a sense that certain ways of operating simply don't fit anymore. It probably feels completely undeniable. The kind of clarity that's emerging now has a very specific texture. As I sat with how to articulate this, the word that resonated most is sobering. And sobering clarity tends to surface a few very recognizable thought patterns. Things like, I can't keep doing this the same way, or this doesn't even feel like me anymore. Not said with frustration or confusion, just a recognition of truth. It's just an accurate observation about how far you've moved from a previous version of yourself. Most people's experience lately has shared this dynamic. It's a similar loop, a similar realization, the same texture arriving in different flavors. So if you've noticed any of those lately, that's the specific quality that's been active. Here's what's actually happening structurally. Yesterday, April 13th, carried a convergence of 3 distinct energies operating at the same time, the energies of 1, 4, and 9. The first energy of 1 is identity. It's a pressure towards becoming more coherent with who you actually are now, not who you've been operating as. The second energy of 4 was the energy of structure. It's evaluation of what's actually holding and what's been held together by habit or inertia rather than genuine alignment. The third was the energy of completion, the kind of energy that makes what's outdated visible enough so you can no longer look past it. So those 3 signals running simultaneously is what creates the specific quality that we've been moving through. So it doesn't feel chaotic and it's not really emotional. It's just precise, almost with a hint of flatness to it, like a lens coming into focus. And this is the part that I find most interesting, because the mind's first response to that kind of clarity is usually to try to do something with it, to make a decision, to fix the pattern, to figure out the next step. I even found myself playing with this as I was navigating a decision yesterday about which style of pendant lights to install in our kitchen. I had to really tread lightly. But here's what I've consistently observed in both my own cycles and in the people I work with. Days like yesterday aren't designed for fixing. They're designed for recognition and acting loosely or gently through that awareness. The difference matters. Recognition means the pattern has now been seen clearly enough that the system can begin reorganizing around what's actually true. Action that's taken too firmly while that reorganization completes usually just recreates the same structure, only with more distortion. Not because you weren't trying, but because the internal structure wasn't organized enough to support highly focused movement. So resisting the temptation to overstep our own integration with fast fixing is really the name of the game right now. Here's the reframe I think matters most, though. When something keeps repeating right now, keeps coming to the surface, the same realization, the same dynamic, the same awareness arriving again and again, it's easy to interpret that as not having moved forward or being stuck, as needing to work harder to lock in the new direction or change a pattern. But repetition in this context isn't a bad thing or mean that something urgently needs attention. It's just confirmation. It's the system locking something into awareness clearly enough so that it can become structural, not just intellectual. There's a difference between knowing something and knowing it in a way that actually changes how you operate. And yesterday was moving things from the first category into the second, which is why it felt less like discovery and more like, oh yes, I already know this, and now it feels even clearer. So you're not missing anything. What happened is that knowing that you're already feeling just went a little bit deeper. So if yesterday left you with a real but still subtle sense of certainty about something, whether that's about a pattern, a dynamic, a way of operating that no longer fits, or that wants to finally lock in, the most aligned response right now isn't necessarily to act on it immediately. It's to stay with the recognition long enough so that it can stabilize. Because what becomes undeniable now doesn't need to be forced into clarity. Saying that another way, clarity through coherence doesn't need to be forced. It clarifies on its own once it is stabilized enough. That's the actual mechanism, not decision-making or efforting. It's the process of cohering, the emergence of clarity that's been allowed to complete itself. So where does that leave us today? Yesterday was about things becoming visible. Today is even quieter than that, though. Recognition has arrived, and today is about letting that begin to settle into something that's more structural within you, which means today still isn't a day to push for more clarity, but it is a day to let that clarity that you already have start doing its work. So if you want to work with this energy, here's what I would offer for the next 24 to 48 hours. Instead of asking yourself, what do I do about fill in the blank? Ask instead, where is this pattern showing up most consistently right now? Or what awareness is repeatedly coming to the surface lately? Not to make a decision or to fix anything yet, just to let the recognition become more complete. Because the more clearly you can see the structure of something, the less energy it takes to dissolve it and to sustain it. If this resonates, feel free to subscribe. I'll continue to track this pattern as it unfolds in the days ahead. I'm Katya, and I will see you in the next one.